exactly. Or like I worked on Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and in pre-production, the producers were debating the worth of bringing Robert Englund back to play Freddy. Yeah, like that. I'm sure you saw Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought the final werewolf design was too. It looked like a mid transformation.
Mm.
It's like I don't need to see the actor to be able to recognize the actor. So what having the actor with some hair and a black nose doesn't say werewolf to me. It should have
Yeah.
looked, like if you look at some of our humanimals in Guardians 3, some of the high evolutionary. There's like a hyena man and stuff like that. I mean, the Werewolf by Night should have looked
More like that.
like that. It didn't need to be the howling in terms of like an animatronic
Full on.
head and stuff. Yeah, but it should have been a heavier makeup. But I think they were. That's a frustrating thing with designing makeup characters, is that it'll be like, oh, we don't want to lose the actor. And it's like, well, sometimes you do. I mean, Tim Curry is legend. You don't want to see Tim Curry. You want to see the devil.
Yeah.
And Tim Curry's acting brings it to life, and it's Tim Curry. Or Jim Carrey is the Grinch. To his credit, he was like, I want to look like the Grinch, because like Universal was like, why don't we just paint him green, because we're spending $24 million on Jim Carrey and you can't tell it's Jim Carrey. And it's like, when he starts doing his Jim Carrey shtick, nobody else does that or can do that. So it's Jim Carrey. But at least, and again, to Carrey's credit, he was like, I want to look like the Grinch, and this is what the Grinch looks like. The Grinch is not Jim Carrey with a green face. It's, the little who knows and, all the wrinkles and stuff. So it's like you get a good actor and you put him in a good makeup and you let them, and don't worry about like, oh, you can't see that it's so-and-so in there. It's like their performance will,
Well, it's that thing. If you honor the truth of that character, the actor who plays them becomes, through that, a better actor and probably an even more recognized character. I mean, you're speaking about Robocop here. I mean, Peter Weller is Robocop, and
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you never really, you see his face a little bit in the beginning and at the end, but it's Robocop, yet we know Peter Weller as Robocop,
Right. In fact, even, I mean, like, I find it hard to watch Robo 3, and I never watched any of the TV shows because, it wasn't Peter Weller. And all you're seeing is, that much of him.
Yeah. But that's all you needed to see,
Well, exactly. Or like I worked on Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and in pre-production, the producers were debating the worth of bringing Robert Englund back to play Freddy, because they're like, oh, he's covered in makeup, he's always in the dark. He goes, just get a stunt guy to do it. Why do we got to pay this actor? And it's like, you don't recognize, the only reason we're making this second movie is what that actor brought to that character through that makeup. And it's amazing that these guys get anything made, because some of these just arbitrary, stupid decisions. But I mean, they literally came like that close to not bringing him back, and then there wouldn't have been a part 3. They'd be like, oh, I wonder why it failed, and it's like, because of your stupid decision. But yeah, so I mean, you need again, like with Tim Curry and my Pennywise makeup, it's I'm very happy with the makeup that I designed and sculpted and whatnot, but it's that actor bringing that to life. If you would have put that on a lesser actor, it wouldn't have been the memorable character that it was.
Absolutely.
I worked on the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes for Rick Baker. When you look at like the principal cast, people like Paul Giamatti and Tim Roth, they really got into playing these characters, and they studied the makeup to see like, okay, what do I have to do to emote through this rubber? Not that it was like super thick, but it's still got a layer on their face. And they would learn, like, okay, in a normal movie, I can just do this and it conveys an expression, but I've got to do it twice or 4 times as much for it to read through the rubber. But then other actors in that movie didn't put that much effort into it. And then so their faces look rather mask-like and inanimate because they're just doing their usual shtick as an actor, and it's not reading through. Or the same thing with Michael Chiklis. The first time I put him in the Thing makeup for the first Fantastic Four, he sat in front of the mirror and he was like, "Oh, you really gotta, you gotta exaggerate what you're doing for it to read." And it's like, yeah, and it's like, and you gotta think about what expressions you're going to make in this scene. And then you got to think about to what degree you've got to push it. So, I mean, it does take some effort on the actor's part to be able to act through it. But when they do, then you get a darkness and legend, or you get a Freddy Krueger, or a, Jim Carrey Grinch, or whatever. It's worth it. I mean, Charles Lawton, Hunchback, the Karloff Frankenstein,
Exactly.
I mean, these are
Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. I mean,
Lon Chaney's Wolfman. I mean, Lon Chaney Sr.'s, Hunchback and Phantom. I mean, these are all iconic and memorable characters because, I mean, they were great makeups, but they were also great performances. It's the marriage of the two. Yeah. And so, but again, this attitude of like, I just put anybody in that. He's a lumbering monster. What difference? And for me as a fan, I think that's why like a Freddy Krueger is more memorable than say a Jason. I was never like a huge Friday the 13th fan because he spends so much of the movie with that hockey mask that you can't really act through that, Although the shape, and particularly in the first Halloween, that's his whole deal, is that it is just that cold, emotionless face,
Who would have ever thought William Shatner could be that scary? Huh?
He's so frightening. Yes. Who knew? Which, I always wondered how he felt about that. And actually a friend of mine, makeup artist that I worked with once in a while, he used to be married to Shatner's daughter. So I always I never asked him, but I was always like, would you ask him, how he felt knowing that his face was the face of, that scared all these people. Because it was just a happy accident. I mean, again, Tommy Lee Wallace built that mask, and he directed Fright Night 2 and It and a couple other things that I worked on. But he was the art director for Halloween, and it was just an arbitrary, like, oh, I need a mask. Okay, let's see if I, alter this. And the alterations he made was just to kind of keep from getting in trouble with copyrights. Like he cut the eyes out and he cut the Star Trek sideburns off, and, and then literally just took a can of white spray paint and just, sprayed it white.
People are kind of going, the future is imminent now that we're going to have these AI movies. But you've just mentioned an iconic moment in cinema, which was a happy accident. It was, oh, well, we just need a mask, and then it becomes this iconic character. AI going to be able to, not that I'm a critic of it in any way, but it is an interesting thing, like how much of movie magic is exactly from those kinds of moments, these happy accidents, as you call them.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of stuff is happy accidents, I don't know. I probably should think more about AI than I am. And if I was 10 years younger, I'd probably be a little more worried about it. But I mean, just in terms of like work-wise, I'm going to be 65 soon, so I don't know how many more movies I got in me. And
you got a lot. We're going to be rooting for you. We're rooting for you.
Well, there you go. Well, that's not to say, even if I should retire, that's not to say I can't still work on stuff. So it is kind of interesting, and I mean, AI is almost kind of a natural extension out of CGI. You had people creating stuff, with their hands, and they started doing it in Photoshop, and now they're doing digital sculpting, and then again, AI is just, I think, kind of a logical extension out of that. And unfortunately, now they've figured out how to take the person out of the equation and just let the computer do all the stuff. I mean, I can remember on the Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four in the Silver Surfer movie, when they were designing the Silver Surfer, I mean, they were doing, like, I remember going down to visit the artist who was working on him. He was up to 30-something variations just on the surfer's eye. It's like, really? And none of them were right. None of them were the Jack Kirby, but digital made it easy for productions to see, like, okay, show me more options. You know, I mean, back when Rick Baker was starting out, it was like, hey, you're the boss, you're the genius, we've come to you, you create the monster. Then it became, oh, well, here, we want you to build this for us. And then it's, yeah, with digital, it's like, show us a bunch of options. And then again, AI, it's, you're telling a guy to sit there and give you 30 options on an eyeball. You're just telling the computer. I mean, somebody's still got to sit there and type it in. I haven't seen any AI generated scripts, which I guess is one of the sticking points with this writer's strike. So that could be bad. But then I've read lots of scripts for shows that I've worked on or that I've fortunately not worked on that were pretty horrible. Mm-hmm. So it's like maybe, you know, would a computer do any worse, you know? Yeah. But it is a weird area. So it's, I mean, unfortunately, we're just kind of toeing the waters right now. So it's kind of hard to say. Like on the first Hellboy, Matt Rose and Jake Garber did Perlman's makeup, and I did the photo double. I first had to make him up like Ron Perlman, and then put the Hellboy pieces. You know, so I had like 2 extra pieces. Cause like when we did the Beast for X-Men 3, Brett Ratner had again heard the word silicone, so he's like, I want the Beast to be silicone, and it's like it's not going to stay on. They hadn't perfected silicone yet because this was like 2004. So